Get down, little girl. Get down. 3 bullets tore through the afternoon air, and a 5-year-old boy threw his tiny body over a stranger's daughter like a shield made of bone and prayer. Blood pooled on the sidewalk before anyone could scream. A leather-clad biker named Stone dropped to his knees, hands shaking, as the dying child whispered a single word that would shatter his entire world, Leo. Before we go any further, please take 1 second to subscribe to this channel. Stay with me until the very end of this story and drop the name of the city you're watching from in the comments. I want to see just how far this story has traveled tonight. The morning had started like any other Saturday outside the diner on Route 9. Stone, 6'3", graying beard, Hell's Angels patch weathered from 22 years of highway wind, leaned against his Harley and watched his daughter skip across the parking lot with a chocolate milkshake clutched in both hands. "Daddy, look, I didn't spill a single drop." "That's my girl Lilybug. Told you that you had steady hands." She was 7 years old, missing 2 front teeth, wearing the little pink jacket her late mother had picked out for her before the cancer took her 3 winters ago. Stone smiled the way only a single father can smile, like his heart was walking around outside his body completely unguarded. "Hey, Stone, you gonna stand there grinning all day or we riding?" Bear called from across the lot. Bear was the club's sergeant-at-arms, built like a refrigerator, with a laugh that rattled windows. "Give me a minute, brother. Let her finish her drink." "A minute's all you got. Tank's getting antsy." Tank was their president. 61 years old, silver ponytail eyes that had seen too much and forgiven too little. He was leaning against his bike a few feet away, arms crossed, scanning the street the way old soldiers always scan streets, not because they expect trouble, but because they know trouble never sends a warning. That's when Tank's head tilted, just slightly. "Stone?" "Yeah." "That black sedan. 3rd time it's rolled past in 10 minutes. Stone turned. The car was already gone around the corner. "Probably nothing." "Probably," Tank said, but his hand had already drifted toward his belt. Lily was 5 steps away from her father when it happened. She had her milkshake in one hand and a little stuffed rabbit in the other, the one she never went anywhere without. She was telling her daddy something about a butterfly she'd seen on the window when the black sedan came screaming back around the corner, tires smoking, and the passenger side window rolled down. Stone saw the barrel before he saw the man holding it. "Lily, down." But a father's voice is never fast enough. A father's legs are never long enough. A father's arms are never quite close enough when the world decides to take everything from him all at once. And that's when the boy appeared. Nobody in the club ever agreed afterward on where he came from. Bear swore he came out from behind the dumpster. Tank said it looked like he came right up out of the pavement. The waitress inside the diner told the police he had been eating scraps out of the trash can not 2 minutes before. But they all agreed on one thing. He ran. A child, not more than 5 years old, skinny as a whip hair too long, clothes that hung on him like rags on a scarecrow. He ran straight into the line of fire. Didn't duck, didn't hesitate, didn't scream. He ran at Lily. "No," Stone roared. "No, kid, no." The first bullet hit the boy high in the shoulder and spun him around like a top. The second caught him in the back as he turned. The third, the one that would have gone straight through Lily's chest, tore into his side and dropped him like a sack of feed right on top of her. The sedan's tires screamed. Gone. Gone before anyone could even pull a piece. And then there was silence. That terrible ringing silence that comes after gunfire when the whole world seems to be holding its breath, afraid to find out who it just lost. Lily was screaming, alive. Screaming, which meant alive. Stone reached them in 3 strides and pulled the boy off his daughter with hands that had started to shake in a way they hadn't shaken since his own brother's funeral. "Lilybug, look at me, baby. Look at me. Are you hit? Are you hit?" "Daddy, there's blood. Daddy, there's so much blood." "That's not yours, baby. That's not yours. You're okay. You're okay." Stone turned the boy over in his arms and his whole world tilted sideways. The kid couldn't have weighed 40 pounds. His ribs showed through his shirt. His cheeks were hollow in a way that no child's cheeks should ever be hollow. He was so pale he almost looked blue already, and his eyes were the color of winter sky, and they were trying to focus on Stone's face. Oh God, kid, stay with me. Hey, buddy, stay with me." Stone Bear was there now on his knees in the parking lot, pressing his bandana against a hole in the boy's side that was bleeding faster than anyone's bandana could handle. Stone, we gotta go. We gotta go now. Hospital's 8 minutes. Call ahead, Tank barked into his phone. Tell him we're coming in hot. Gunshot wound, pediatric, 3 holes conscious, but barely. He lowered the phone. Stone, truck, now. Stone didn't remember standing up. He didn't remember running. He only remembered the weight of the boy, how shockingly little weight there was, and the way those winter sky eyes stayed locked on his face the whole way to the truck. You stay with me, little man. You stay right with me. You hear me? What's your name, huh? Can you tell me your name? The boy's mouth moved. No sound. His name's Stone. Ask him his name. Insurance is going to ask. Family is going to ask. I'm asking, Bear. I'm asking him. Lily was crying in the back seat. Tank had her pulled up against his chest, one enormous hand over her ear, and the other gripping the headrest so hard his knuckles were white. It's okay, sweetheart, Tank kept saying. It's okay, the boy saved you. The boy saved you, honey. Your daddy's got him. Your daddy's got him. Is he gonna die? Grandpa Tank, is he gonna die like Mama? Tank closed his eyes. Not if your daddy's got anything to say about it, baby girl. Not if your daddy's got anything to say about it. In the front seat, Stone was cradling the boy in his lap while Bear drove like a man possessed, one hand on the wheel and one hand pressing down on the worst of the 3 wounds. Come on, kid. Come on. Talk to me. Just tell me your name. Just one word. Just give me one word. And the boy, this broken, starving, bleeding child who had thrown his entire life in front of a little girl he didn't even know, opened his mouth. Leo? Stone froze. What did you say? Kid, what did you say? Leo, the boy whispered again, and a small trickle of blood came with it. Leo. Bear glanced sideways. He's trying to say Lily, brother. He's trying to say your girl's name. No, he ain't. Stone. He ain't saying Lily, Bear. Stone's voice had gone strange, quiet, the kind of quiet that comes right before a storm that levels whole counties. He's saying Leo. Bear's eyes flicked back to the road, but his jaw had tightened, because Bear had been in the club for 19 years, and Bear knew what that word meant. Leo was not a name. Lil was what Stone's little brother Colt had called himself when he was a toddler who couldn't say his own full name, Colton Lee. The family had laughed about it for years, called him Leo into his teenage years, into his 20s, right up until the night Colt disappeared off the face of the earth 7 years ago and never came home again. Drug trouble. Bad people. The club had searched for him for months. The police had searched for him for weeks. And then one cold October morning, the case had gone cold along with the trail. Colt was gone, presumed dead, case closed. Nobody outside the family had ever called him Leo. Nobody. Stone, Bear said carefully. Stone, brother, kids hear things. Kids pick up words. Don't go there. Not right now. Keep his head up. Keep talking to him. But Stone was already there. Stone was already all the way there. Kid, listen to me. Where did you hear that name? Who taught you that word, huh? Who called themselves Leo? The boy's eyes were fluttering. Mama said, Leo was my daddy. Stone made a sound that wasn't quite a word. Bear heard it, and Bear would later tell the club that he had never in all his years of riding with Stone heard that man make a sound like that. Not when Stone's wife died, not when Colt disappeared, not even when Stone himself had taken a bullet in the thigh at a clubhouse raid in 2009. It was the sound of a man whose entire understanding of the last 7 years was collapsing in real time. Bear, drive faster. I'm already doing 90, brother. Drive faster. Faster. The emergency room doors burst open with Stone walking through them, carrying a bleeding child, and there was a woman in scrubs, ready with a gurney, and 2 trauma nurses already reaching for him, and a doctor shouting orders before Stone could even open his mouth. Sir, I need you to let go. I need you to let go of him. How long ago? How many shots? 3 shots. Shoulder backside, maybe 6-7 minutes ago. Is he your son? Stone opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I don't know yet. The doctor didn't have time to ask what that meant. They were already running the gurney down the hall, and Stone was chasing after them, and a nurse was pushing her hand flat against his chest. Sir, you cannot come past this line. That might be my, I need to go with him. Sir, I need you to breathe. I need you to sit down. We're going to do everything we can. A doctor will come talk to you as soon as we know anything. And then they were gone. The double doors swung shut, and Stone was standing alone in a hospital hallway covered in the blood of a child he had never met until 7 minutes ago, realizing that he might have just handed over his own nephew or his own son to a trauma team with nothing but 3 bullet holes and a whisper of a dead man's nickname to go on. Bear came up behind him slowly, put a hand on his shoulder. Brother, sit down. Don't. Stone, sit down. Stone sat down, and for a long minute he didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Then he said very quietly, Bear, what if Colt had a kid? Stone, what if Colt had a kid and that kid has been out there for 7 years while I thought we'd buried the whole family? We don't know that. He's 5, maybe 6. We don't know anything yet, brother. We don't know a thing. He called him Lil Bear. I heard him. Nobody knew that name Bear. Nobody. I know. His mama told him. Somebody out there, some woman, she knew Colt. She knew Colt well enough to have a child with him, to raise that child, and to tell that child the one name that nobody outside this family ever used. And then she died. She left him. She lost him. How is this kid eating out of a dumpster, Bear? How is Colt's son eating out of a dumpster while I'm buying my little girl a milkshake 2 blocks away? Bear didn't have an answer. There wasn't one. Tank arrived 20 minutes later with Lily still wrapped up against his shoulder, her face buried in his leather vest. He looked at Stone. Stone looked at him. Nothing needed to be said. Then Lily lifted her head, eyes swollen and red, and the first words out of her mouth were, Daddy, is the boy gonna live? Stone pulled her into his arms and held her so tight she squeaked. I don't know, baby. Daddy, he saved me. I know, sweetheart. I know he did. Daddy? Why did he do that? He doesn't even know me. Stone swallowed around something that felt like broken glass. I don't know yet, baby, but I'm gonna find out. I promise you, am gonna find out. An hour passed, then another. Tank had taken Lily to the cafeteria to get her something to eat, because 7-year-old girls shouldn't be sitting in a trauma waiting room while their father unravels. Bear had stepped outside to make calls to the clubhouse, to the other patch members, to a few law enforcement contacts who owed the Angels favors and who might be able to put a name to a black sedan with out-of-state plates. Stone sat alone, and somewhere around the 2-hour mark, a nurse came out of the double doors carrying a small plastic bag. Sir, are you the gentleman who brought in the little boy? Yes, ma'am. He's still in the surgery. It's going to be a while. I'm sorry I don't have an update yet. She hesitated. But we had to cut his clothes off him and, well, we don't know who his people are. We don't have a name. We don't have a guardian. We don't have anything. I'm supposed to put his personal effects in the bag with the paperwork, but, sir, forgive me for asking, but you brought him in. Do you know if he has family? Anyone we should call? Stone looked up at her slowly. Ma'am, may I see the bag? Sir, legally, I'm not supposed to. Please, ma'am, I think he might be mine. She looked at him for a long moment, a nurse who had seen every kind of grief a hospital can manufacture. And then very quietly, she set the bag down on the chair next to him. I'll be over at the station. I'll be right back in a minute. And she walked away. Stone opened the bag with hands that would not stop trembling. A pair of shoes 2 sizes too small, the soles worn through, a shirt that had been white once, a pair of pants that were more hole than pant, and at the very bottom of the bag, wrapped up in a filthy scrap of what looked like an old bandana, something heavy, something metal, something on a chain. Stone pulled it out, and when he saw what he was holding, the breath went out of him the way breath goes out of a man who has been hit in the chest with a sledgehammer. It was a dog tag. United States Marine Corps issue, dented, scratched, worn smooth at the edges from years of being carried, and stamped into the metal in block letters Stone knew by heart because he had read them 1,000 times on the tag that hung on his own rearview mirror was a name. Morrison Colton L. Colt's tag. Colt's actual real physical dog tag, the one that had been missing since the night Colt disappeared 7 years ago. The one the family had torn 3 states apart looking for because Colt had sworn up and down he would never ever be without it. The one Colt would only have given to one person in the whole world, his child. Stone closed his fist around the tag so hard the edges cut into his palm, and he lowered his head, and in a hospital waiting room in front of God and strangers, in a vending machine humming in the corner, a grown man in a Hell's Angels cut finally broke. "Oh, Colt," he whispered. "Oh, little brother, what did they do to you? What did they do to your boy?" Down the hallway behind the double doors, a 5-year-old child who had no name on his chart and no family on his file was fighting for his life on an operating table. And in Stone's shaking hand, that child suddenly had both. Stone was still staring at the dog tag when Bear came back through the emergency room door's, phone in his hand, and his face set in that hard, unreadable way it got whenever the club had a problem that couldn't be fixed with words. "Stone, brother, I got news and none of it's good, Bear. Tank's on his way back from the cafeteria, and we need to, Bear, look." Bear stopped mid-sentence. Stone opened his fist. The dog tag caught the overhead light and turned slowly on its chain. Bear stared at it for a long 5 seconds without breathing. Then he lowered himself into the chair next to Stone like a man whose legs had suddenly decided they didn't want to hold him up anymore. "That's Colt's tag. That's Colt's tag. Stone, that is Colt's tag. I know what it is, Bear. That tag went missing the night I know, Bear. Brother, that kid on the table back there is, I know what he is." Bear put both hands over his face and just breathed for a second, in and out, the way a man breathes when he is trying not to either break a wall or start crying in a public hospital. Then he dropped his hands and looked at Stone with red eyes. "Does Tank know yet?" "Not yet. You gotta tell him." "I know." "Stone, that man loved Colt like his own son. He's gonna lose his mind when he sees this. You remember what he was like after the funeral? There wasn't a funeral, Bear. We never had a body. We had a service. There's a difference." Bear swallowed hard. Yeah, you're right. There's a difference. They sat in silence for a long moment, two grown men in leather cuts staring at a dented piece of military metal that was slowly rewriting the last 7 years of both their lives. Then Tank came around the corner with Lily holding one of his enormous hands and a little juice box in the other, and Stone stood up to meet him. "Tank, come here. Bear's gonna take Lily for a minute." "Daddy, I want to stay with you." "Lilybug, I need you to go with Uncle Bear for just 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. I'm not going anywhere, I promise." Bear crouched down to Lily's level and forced a smile that looked almost real. "Hey, darling, you want to go see if the gift shop's got any of those little stuffed bears, the kind with the hearts on them? Your daddy and your grandpa Tank got some grown-up talking to do." "Is the boy awake yet?" "Not yet, sweetheart, but I'll tell you the second he is." She went with Bear. She was a good girl like that. Tank watched them go, then turned back to Stone with the careful, patient look of a man who had been reading bad news off other men's faces for 40 years. "All right, son, out with it." Stone held up the tag. Tank took it from him, held it in his palm, read the name stamped into it, and for the first time since Stone had known him, and Stone had known him since Stone was 16 years old, and Tank had pulled him out of a bar fight he had no business being in, Tank's hand began to shake. "Where did you get this?" "It was in the kid's clothes, Tank. It was wrapped up in a bandana in the bottom of the bag. That boy on that table has been carrying Colt's dog tag." "Stone, I know. Stone, that kid is, I know, Tank. That is my godson's child." "I know." Tank sat down, right there in the hallway, right down in the plastic chair, and he put his forehead against his hands, and his shoulders shook once hard, the way a mountain shakes when something deep inside of it cracks. He did not cry. Tank had not cried in Stone's presence in all the years they had ridden together, but the mountain cracked just the same. 7 years, Tank whispered. 7 years we thought he was dead, and he left a son behind. "We don't know he's dead, Tank. Not for sure, we never did." No, we didn't." Tank lifted his head. His eyes had gone somewhere cold. "But somebody knew. Somebody out there knew. Somebody knew Colt had a boy, and somebody let that boy end up eaten out of a trash can outside a diner, and somebody just tried to put 3 bullets in a little girl not 20 feet from where that boy was standing. You tell me, Stone. You tell me if that's a coincidence." Stone didn't answer. He didn't need to. Bear came back down the hallway without Lily, a concerned look on his face, moving faster than a man his size had any business moving. "Stone, Tank, I just got off the phone with Ruiz." "Ruiz, the cop." Ruiz the cop. He ran the partial plate tank got off that sedan before it took the corner. You want to know what came back? Tell me. Plates registered to a shell company out of Nevada. Shell company's got 3 other vehicles on file. All 3 of them have been pulled over in the last 6 months, and all 3 of them for different things, and guess what? All 3 of them have in common. Tank looked up sharply. Don't say it, Bear. Viper's crew tank, every single one of them. That sedan belongs to Viper. The hallway went very quiet, and Stone's jaw worked. Viper's been laying low for 2 years. He ain't come at this club since the thing at the warehouse. What the hell is he doing taking shots at my daughter in broad daylight? That's the thing, brother. Bear lowered his voice. Ruiz says the angle, the distance, the way they came around, he says it doesn't look like it they were aiming at Lily. Bear, I was there. They had the window down. They had the barrel pointed right at her. Stone, think about it. Think about where the kid was standing before he ran. Think about it real careful. Stone thought about it. He thought about the dumpster behind the diner. He thought about how the waitress had said the boy had been eating scraps there for an hour before the shooting. He thought about the angle of the car and the line the bullets had taken and where those bullets had ended up. His face drained of color. They weren't coming for Lily. No, brother. They were coming for the boy. I think they were coming for the boy. Tank stood up, slowly, like a man uncoiling. Then that means Viper knows who that boy is. Yeah. That means Viper has known for longer than we have. Yeah, Tank. That means Viper has maybe been looking for that boy for a long time. Yeah. And Stone very quietly said the thing that nobody in the hallway wanted to say out loud. Then Viper is the reason Colt disappeared. Nobody contradicted him, because in their bones they had all always known. The double doors at the end of the hallway swung open. A doctor in scrubs came through them, still pulling off his gloves. He looked tired. He looked like a man who had been working on something he wasn't sure he could save. The family of the John Doe pediatric. Stone was on his feet instantly. That's me, Doc. Sir, I was told we don't actually have confirmation of, I'm his uncle. The words came out before Stone even decided to say them. I'm his uncle. His father was my brother. We're still working out the paperwork, but I promise you, Doc, that is my blood on that table, and I need you to tell me right now if he's going to live. The doctor studied him for a long second. He's stable. Stone actually sagged against the wall. Bear caught his elbow. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God, Doc. Sir, I said stable. I did not say out of the woods. He took 3 rounds. The shoulder one was the easiest, in and out clean. The one that went into his back clipped his lung. We got it. The one in his side is the one I'm worried about. It nicked an artery, and he lost more blood than a child that size has any business losing. We had to put 4 units into him on the table. But he's alive. He's alive. He's in recovery. He's intubated, and he's going to be out for a while. And sir, I have to ask you some questions, and I need you to answer them honestly, because what I am seeing on this child's body is not just today's injuries. Stone's stomach dropped. What do you mean? The doctor looked at Bear, looked at Tank, looked back at Stone. Sir, that child is severely malnourished. He is below the 3rd percentile for weight. He has 2 healed rib fractures. He has a fracture line on his left forearm that tells me somebody grabbed that arm and twisted it hard, probably more than once, probably over a year ago. He has cigarette burn scars on the inside of his thighs. Stone made a sound like he'd been punched. Sir, I'm going to level with you. I don't know where you're at in your paperwork. I don't know the family situation, but I am legally required to file a report with the state, and the state is going to have questions. Whoever had that child before today, sir, that child was not being cared for. That child was being hurt. And if any part of your family is responsible for that, I need to know right now. Tank stepped forward before Stone could answer. He stepped forward with a kind of cold, terrible dignity that only a 61-year-old man with a silver ponytail and a lifetime of hard roads could muster. Doctor, look at me. Look me in the face. Sir, look at me. That boy has not been with his blood family for 5-6 years. We did not know he existed. If we had, he would not have a scratch on him. I will swear that on my mother's grave and my own. We are going to cooperate with every report you file and every question the state asks. But understand something right now, whoever did this to that child is going to answer for it. And they are going to answer for it to us. The doctor looked at Tank for a long moment. Then very slowly he nodded. I believe you, sir. For what it's worth. It's worth a lot, Doc. Can we see him? 5 minutes, family only. He's not awake and I don't want him upset if he wakes up to strangers. I'm going, Stone said. I'll wait out here with Lily, Tank said. You go, you're his people. Bear clapped Stone on the shoulder. Go on, brother. Stone went. The room at the end of the hallway was small and quiet, with the steady beep of a monitor and the soft hiss of a ventilator, breathing for a child who was too small to breathe for himself. Stone stopped in the doorway. There was not much of the boy to see. There was a head of dirty brown hair on a pillow. There was a little arm with an IV taped to it lying on top of a blanket. There was a chest the size of a loaf of bread rising and falling under the sheet. That was all. That was Colt's son. That was all that was left of Colt's son. Stone walked to the side of the bed and sank into the chair beside it. And he took that little hand in his huge, rough tattooed one, and he held it like it was the most fragile thing he had ever touched in his life. Hey, kid, he whispered. Hey, little man, I don't know if you can hear me in there. I don't know if anything I'm about to say is going to get through. But I need to say it anyway because I got a feeling ain't nobody ever said it to you before. The monitor beeped. My name is Stone. My real name is Eli Morrison. Your daddy was Colton Morrison. Everybody called him Colt. I called him little brother. Your grandma called him Lee. And when he was about your size, he couldn't say his own whole name. And he used to point at himself and say, Leo. Just Leo, like that. Stone's voice cracked. Your mama told you that name, huh? Your mama must have loved him. Your mama must have loved him a whole lot to tell you that story. The hand in his didn't move. I don't know where your mama is, little man. I don't know how you got out here. I don't know who put those scars on you, and I don't know who shot at you today, but I swear to God, I swear on your daddy's name, I am going to find out. And I am going to make it right. You hear me, every bit of it. I'm going to make it right. He lifted the little hand and pressed it very gently against his forehead. I didn't know you existed, he whispered. 7 years. 7 years you've been out there somewhere, and I didn't know. I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry. The monitor beeped, and then very softly, the little hand twitched against Stone's forehead. Stone's eyes flew open. Kid buddy, can you hear me? The boy's eyes were still closed. The ventilator was still breathing for him. But the little fingers had moved, just barely, just enough for Stone to know. Somebody outside the door knocked. Stone wiped his face with the back of his hand before he turned around. Yeah, come in. It was a nurse, the same one who'd given him the bag of clothes. She looked nervous. Sir, there's somebody at the front desk asking about him. Stone's head came up slowly. Asking about him how? A woman, sir. She came running in about 5 minutes ago. She's asking if a little boy was brought in with gunshot wounds. She says she's his mother, sir. Stone was already on his feet. Bring her back here, now. Sir, I can't just, there's a process, there's paperwork, there's the social worker. Ma'am, with all respect, you bring that woman back here to me right now or I walk out to that lobby myself and I promise you my boots are louder in a hospital hallway than yours are. She looked at him, saw something in his face, turned and went. Stone stepped out into the hallway. Bear had come up sensing trouble the way Bear always did. What's going on? There's a woman out front, says she's the mother. What? Says she's the mother Bear. Then where the hell has she been, brother? That kid's had cigarette burns put on him. I know. That kid's been starving. I know, Bear. If she walks in here, I cannot promise you I'm going to be polite. Then let me do the talking. The nurse came around the corner. Behind her, walking fast but unsteady, was a woman. She couldn't have been more than 32 or 33, but she looked 40. Thin, dark hair pulled back in a rough ponytail, a bruise on her jaw that had started to yellow at the edges, eyes red from crying. A cheap canvas jacket pulled tight around her like it was the only thing holding her together. She saw Stone. She saw the dog tag still clutched in his fist. She saw his leather cut with the Hell's Angels patch on it, and she stopped dead in the middle of the hallway. Oh my God, she whispered. Oh my God, you're Stone. You're Colt's brother. You're Stone. Stone didn't speak. He couldn't yet. I've been looking for you for 5 years, she said. I've been looking for you for 5 years, and I couldn't come to you. I couldn't bring him to you. He said they'd kill us both if I did. He said they were watching the clubhouse. Is he alive? Is Noah alive? Please tell me he's alive. Noah. The name came out of stone like a prayer. His name is Noah. Noah James Morrison. He's 5. He's 5 years old. Please tell me he's alive. Her legs gave out. She went down on her knees right there on the hospital tile, and she put her hands over her face and she made a sound that wasn't crying. It was something bigger than crying, and Bear had to catch her under the arms to keep her from hitting the floor. Ma'am, easy. He's alive. The doc says he's stable. Oh God, oh thank God, oh thank God. Stone went down on one knee in front of her, took her chin in his hand, made her look at him. What's your name? Rachel. Rachel Dean. Rachel, listen to me. Wait, listen to me real careful. I got about 1,000 questions for you, and we are going to get to every one of them. But I need to know one thing right now before anything else. One thing. Anything. Stone held up the dog tag, let her see it, watched her eyes fill up at the sight of it. My brother Colt, is he dead? Rachel Dean looked at him with tears running down her face, and what she said next stopped Stone's heart in his chest. Stone, she whispered. Stone, 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. And I swear to you on my son's life, I swear to you on Noah's life, it was Colt. It was his voice. He was alive 3 weeks ago, and he said they were coming for the boy. The words hung in the hallway like something physical. Stone didn't move, didn't breathe. Bear, still holding Rachel up by the elbows, had gone so still he looked carved out of wood. Say that again, Stone whispered. Stone. Rachel, say it again, slow. 3 weeks ago, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't know, an area code I didn't recognize. I almost didn't pick up. I never pick up numbers I don't know, not after what happened, but something in me, something made me pick up. And I heard his voice. I heard Colt's voice. That ain't possible. I swear on Noah's life. Rachel, we searched for him for months. We had contacts in 3 states turning over every rock. We had a man inside the sheriff's office. My brother is dead. Your brother was taken. The word hit the hallway like a gunshot all over again. Bear's grip on Rachel's arm tightened. Ma'am, you're going to need to explain that right now. Rachel wiped her face with the back of her hand. She was trembling so hard her teeth were almost chattering, but when she spoke, her voice came out clear. 7 years ago, Colt found out something he wasn't supposed to find out. He didn't tell me what, not all of it. He said the less I knew, the safer I'd be. But he told me it was about Viper. He told me Viper wasn't just running what everybody thought he was running. He told me there was somebody above Viper, somebody with money, somebody connected. And Colt had proof. Stone's face had gone the color of ash. What kind of proof? I don't know, Stone. I swear to you, I don't know. He had a notebook. He kept it on him all the time. He used to write in it at night when he thought I was sleeping. He told me if anything ever happened to him, I was supposed to take that notebook and I was supposed to run. Not to the club, not to the police, just run. Because he said the people who were after him had reached inside both. Inside the club? That's what he said. Bear looked at Stone. Stone looked at Bear. Neither of them said anything, but both of them were thinking the same thing, somebody inside, somebody close. Rachel went on, her voice shaking. The night he disappeared, I was 7 months pregnant. 7 months, Stone. We were living in a little place outside Barstow. He'd been gone a day and a half, which wasn't unusual. He was always running errands for the club. That's what he said, errands for Tank. I thought they were club errands. And then at 3 a.m, there was a knock on the door. Rachel. It wasn't him. It was a man I'd never seen before. Big man, older. He had a beard. He said his name was Gray. Bear's whole body went rigid. Gray, Stone said. Old Gray who rode with us in the 90s. I don't know who he was to you, Stone. All I know is he came to my door at 3 a.m. and he told me Colt was gone. He said Colt had been grabbed outside a bar in Needles. He said the club was already looking. He said he'd been sent to take me somewhere safe until they found him. And he said I couldn't bring anything with me except the clothes on my back. He said I had to leave Colt's notebook because the notebook was what they were after, and if I took it, they'd follow me. And you believed him. Stone, I was 25 years old and 7 months pregnant, and my man had just disappeared, and somebody was at my door saying the club had sent him. Of course I believed him. Rachel, oh Rachel. I got in his truck. He drove me, not to a safe house, not to the clubhouse. He drove me out into the desert, Stone. And about 40 miles out of Barstow off the main road, he pulled over. And he looked at me and he said, "I'm sorry, honey, but Colt picked the wrong people to cross and I can't let you have that baby." Bear made a sound in the back of his throat like a dog that had just been kicked. I had a little pocket knife in my jacket. I'd been carrying it for years because Colt made me. I got it out before he could get around to my side of the truck. I cut him across the face. I ran. I ran into the desert in the middle of the night, 7 months pregnant with nothing but the clothes on my back and $86 in my pocket. And I kept running, Stone. For 5 years, I kept running, and I raised my son in motel rooms, in trailer parks, and borrowed couches, and every time I thought we were safe, somebody would show up and I'd have to run again. "Why didn't you come to us?" Stone's voice was broken. "Rachel, why didn't you come to the family?" "Because Colt told me not to. Because the man who tried to kill me in the desert said the club had sent him. Because for 5 years I did not know which of you were in on it and which of you weren't. I had a baby, Stone. I had his baby. I couldn't take the chance." "So what happened? Why ain't he with you now? Why was he eaten out of a dumpster, Rachel?" Rachel started to cry again, but this time it was the quiet kind, the kind that comes from somewhere way down deep. 18 months ago, they found us in Reno. I don't know how, I don't know who. I was working at a diner. I was trying to keep my head down, and a man came in. I knew him the second I saw him. One of Viper's. He didn't see me. I was in the back, and I went out the side door, and I ran home, and I grabbed Noah, and we got on a bus that night. But Stone, I had a little bit of money saved, and I had it in a box under the bed, and in the panic, I forgot it. I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything. Oh, God. I met a woman on that bus. Her name was Denise. She seemed nice. She said she had a spare room. She said I could stay with her, and Noah could stay with her while I got back on my feet. For 2 months, Stone, I worked 2 jobs. I barely slept. I was trying to get enough money together to get us somewhere else. And I came home one night and Denise was gone. Her apartment was cleaned out and Noah was gone. Stone's fist hit the wall. The whole hallway jumped. Who took him, Rachel? I spent the last year and a half trying to find out. I chased every lead. And 2 months ago, I got a name. A woman named Marlene. Lives in a trailer outside Victorville. Keeps foster kids. That ain't really foster kids, you understand what I'm saying. The kind of woman that takes children off people who can't keep them and farms them out to whoever's paying. I went out there. I knocked on her door. She wouldn't let me see him. She said he wasn't there. She said I had the wrong house. But I heard him, Stone. I heard him crying through the wall. I heard my baby crying and I couldn't get to him. Why didn't you call the cops? Because she told me if I did, the people she worked for would kill him before the cops got there. And I believed her, Stone. God help me, I believed her. So what did you do? I watched the house for 3 weeks. I waited for my chance. And 5 days ago, I saw her put him in her car and I followed her and she took him to a gas station on Route 9 and she handed him off to a man. Handed him off, Stone, like he was a package. And the man got in a black sedan and drove away. And I lost him. I lost the car. I've been driving around this county for 5 days with no sleep and no plan. Just looking anywhere. And then I heard on the radio this afternoon that there'd been a shooting in the parking lot of the Blue Star Diner and a little boy had been hit. And Stone, I knew. I knew before anybody told me. I knew it was him. Bear was wiping his eyes with the heel of his hand. Stone was sitting on the floor now. He didn't remember sliding down the wall, but he was on the floor with his head against the plaster, and he was looking up at Rachel like a man who had aged 10 years in 5 minutes. And then the phone call, he said hoarsely. You said Colt called you 3 weeks ago. I don't know how he got my number. I change it every 6 months. But it rang and it was him. He sounded stoned, he sounded wrong. He sounded tired. He sounded like somebody who'd been in a cage for a long time. He said, Rachel, listen to me. I don't have long. They're moving me. I don't know where they're taking me. But Rachel, they found the boy. They found Noah. You've got to get to him before they do. You've got to get to my brother. Tell Eli it was Wrench. Bear went white. Stone went whiter. Wrench, Stone said. Who's Wrench? Rachel asked. He said the name, and then the line cut out. I didn't know who Wrench was. I swear to you, Stone, that's all he said before he was gone. Who is Wrench? Stone couldn't answer. Bear answered for him. Wrench is a patched member of this club, ma'am. Wrench has been riding with us for 24 years. Wrench was Colt's best friend. Wrench stood next to me at Stone's wedding. Wrench was a pallbearer at the service we held when we couldn't find Colt's body. The hallway went silent, and then Stone very quietly said, Wrench is the one who told us Colt was probably dead. Wrench is the one who brought us the first lead that went cold. Wrench is the one who told Tank 3 years ago that we should stop looking. Stone, Bear whispered. Stone, brother. He was feeding us false leads. Stone's voice was getting lower, getting quieter, getting colder, the way it only did when something inside him had gone over a line he couldn't come back from. For 7 years, he was feeding us false leads. He was watching us bury a ghost. He was sitting at the clubhouse table, eating our food and taking our cut and lying to our faces, and my brother was alive the whole time. We don't know that at Stone. We know Bear. Stone, we know. Rachel reached out and grabbed Stone's arm with both of her hands. Stone, listen to me. There's one more thing before you do anything. Colt said one more thing on that call. What? He said, tell my brother the notebook is still there. Tell him to go to the house in Barstow, under the floorboard in the nursery. I never moved it. It's still there. Stone looked up at her. The notebook. The notebook, Stone. Everything he had, everything he found out. All the names, all the proof. He left it in the nursery in Barstow, and it's been sitting there for 7 years, and he wants you to go get it. Tank's voice came from the end of the hallway. Flat, hard, calm the way a gun is calm right before it goes off. Then somebody's going to Barstow tonight. All 3 of them turned. Tank had Lily holding his hand, but his other hand was resting on the grip of the blade he carried on his belt, and his eyes were fixed on Rachel with an intensity that would have made a lesser woman flinch. Rachel didn't flinch. Stone was starting to realize, been through more than most of the men in this hallway put together. Tank Bear said, how much of that did you? I heard enough. I heard the part about Wrench. Tank, Bear, you and I and Stone are the only 3 patch members who know what we just heard. That is how it is going to stay. Do you understand me? Yeah, Tank. Do you understand me, Bear? I understand you, Tank. Because if one word of this gets back to Wrench before we are ready, then Colt dies for real if he ain't dead already, and this little boy in that room back there dies right behind him. Am I clear? You're clear. Tank turned to Rachel, softened just a little, went down on one knee in front of her with a slowness that spoke of bad knees and a long life, and he took her hand in his. Ma'am, I'm Tank. I'm the president of this club. I was your man's godfather. I held him the day he came home from the hospital. And I owe you an apology I don't rightly know how to make, because for 7 years I thought my boy was dead, and I let myself believe it, and I stopped looking too soon. You have carried something no mama should ever have had to carry alone. That stops today. You hear me, honey? That stops today. Rachel's face crumpled. She pressed her forehead against the back of Tank's enormous hand, and she wept. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I should have come to you. You did what you had to do to keep that boy breathing, and because of what you did, my godson's son is alive in that room right now. You don't apologize to me, ma'am, not ever. Not for a single thing. Stone pushed himself up off the floor. His face had changed. Something in it had settled into a place it hadn't been in a long, long time. Tank. Yes, son. I'm going to Barstow tonight. No, you ain't. Tank. Stone, you listen to me. You are staying right here in this hospital with that boy and your daughter and this woman. You are not leaving this building for any reason. Do you know why? Because in about 4 hours, Wrench is going to hear through the grapevine that a kid got shot at the Blue Star, and he is going to come to this hospital to see you because that is what a brother does. And if he walks in here and you are not here, he is going to know something is wrong. And the second he knows something is wrong, we lose our window. Bear nodded slowly. Tank's right. Then who's going to Barstow? Tank stood up, looked at Bear. Bear's going. Bear's taken two prospects he trusts. And Bear is going to get in that house and get under that floorboard and come back with whatever's in that notebook. And he is going to do it tonight, and he is going to be back before sunup. Tank Bear said, "That's a 6-hour drive each way. Then you better stop talking and start riding." Bear nodded once, looked at Stone, put a hand on his shoulder. "I'll be back before you know it, brother. You hold down this hospital. You watch over that boy. You don't let nobody near him but the three of us. You hear? Nobody but the three of us. Not even Wrench. Not even Wrench." Bear left. Tank turned to Rachel. "Ma'am? Rachel, I'd like to ask you a favor, and I'd like you to say yes. Anything. I'd like you to come sit in that room with your son. I'd like you to hold his hand. I'd like to be the first face that boy sees when he wakes up to be his mama's." Rachel covered her mouth with both hands and nodded. She couldn't talk. Tank didn't need her to. Stone walked her to the door of Noah's room himself, opened it, and when Rachel saw her son, when she saw the little head on the pillow, in the tubes, and the monitor, she made a sound that was half a sob and half a prayer. And she crossed the room in 3 steps, and she sank into the chair beside the bed, and she picked up his little hand, and she pressed it to her mouth, and she whispered something so quietly that Stone couldn't hear it. Whatever it was between her and her boy, and it wasn't his to listen to. He stepped out, closed the door, let her have it. Tank was waiting in the hallway with Lily. "Stone, yeah. Your little girl has been through something today. She needs her daddy." "I know. Go take her to the cafeteria. Get her a grilled cheese. Tell her you love her. Act like a man who has not just had the roof torn off his life. Because in about 2 hours, Wrench is going to walk through those doors, and you are going to have to shake his hand, and you are going to have to smile at him, and you are going to have to not put your knife through his eye. Can you do that for me?" Stone looked down at Lily. She was looking up at him with big, scared eyes that had seen too much for one afternoon. He picked her up, put her on his hip, kissed the side of her head. "Yeah, Tank, I can do that." "Good man." Stone started down the hallway toward the cafeteria. Lily put her head against his shoulder. "Daddy?" "Yeah, Lilybug. The boy who saved me. What's his name?" Stone closed his eyes, opened them, kissed her hair again. "His name is Noah, baby. His name is Noah, and he's your cousin." Lily was quiet for a minute. "Daddy?" "Yeah. Then he's my family." "Yeah, sweetheart. He's your family. Then we're not gonna let nothing bad happen to him ever again." "Right, Daddy." Stone stopped walking. He stood in the middle of the hallway holding his 7-year-old daughter with his brother's dog tag still clenched in his fist so hard it had cut his palm open, and he hadn't even noticed. "No, baby," he whispered. "We're not going to let nothing bad happen to him ever again. I promise you that. I promise you on your mama's grave." He started walking again. And 2 floors below in the lobby of the hospital, the front door slid open, and a man in a leather cut with a patch that read Wrench across the chest walked in, pulled off his sunglasses, and smiled at the nurse at the front desk. "Evening, darling. I'm looking for my brother. Heard there was some trouble today." The nurse at the front desk smiled the polite, tired smile of a woman who had been on her feet for 11 hours. She did not know the man in front of her. She did not know his club, did not know his name, did not know that 2 floors above her head, her entire hospital was about to become the quietest battlefield in 3 counties. "I'm sorry, sir. Who are you here to see?" "Eli Morrison. Big fella, beard like mine, leather cut, says Hell's Angels on the back. Probably tore through here about 4 hours ago with a bleeding kid in his arms." "Sir, I can't give out patient information." "Ma'am, I ain't asking about the patient. I'm asking about the man. He's my brother. I got a call from a friend, said there'd been a shooting and my people were here, and I drove 90 miles to get to this hospital. Now, please, darling, just tell me what floor he's sitting on. Let me call up and let him know you're here. What's your name, sir?" "Tell him Wrench is here. He'll know." Upstairs on the 2nd floor, Stone was holding a grilled cheese in front of Lily and trying very hard to keep his hand from shaking when Tank's phone buzzed. Tank looked at the screen, looked at Stone. "He's in the lobby." Stone set the grilled cheese down. "Tank, I need a minute." "You ain't got a minute, son. He's already in the elevator." "Tank." "Stone, look at me." Stone looked at him. Tank's face was the face of a man who had been president of an outlaw club for 18 years and who had buried more friends than most men ever make. There was a kind of calm in it that was worse than anger because it was the calm of somebody who had already decided what was going to happen and was only working out the timing. You do not tip him off. You do not ask him a single question about Colt. You do not ask him where he's been. You do not look at him any way you wouldn't look at him on any other Tuesday. You hug him. You thank him for coming. You tell him Lily's shook up but safe. You tell him the boy is a John Doe and the doctors don't know if he's going to make it. You do not mention the name Noah. You do not mention the dog tag. You do not mention Rachel. If he asks about the boy, you say you don't know nothing about the kid except he threw himself in front of your daughter and you ain't the kind of man who lets a debt like that go unpaid. That's all you say. Do you hear me? I hear you. And Stone, listen to me real careful now. Yeah. If Wrench asks to see the boy, you let him. Stone's head came up sharply. Tank, you let him. You walk him down the hallway. You stand in the doorway with him, and you watch his face. Tank, he ain't gonna do nothing in a hospital with a mama and a president, and you standing right there. He's too smart for that. But Stone, you watch his face when he looks at that boy. Because the man we've been riding with for 24 years don't know that boy is Colt's. And if the man in that elevator right now does know, it's gonna cross his face for half a second. Half a second is all I need. Stone swallowed. You want me to use my kid as bait? I want you to use yourself as bait. Lily stays right here with me and the nurse. You take Wrench down that hallway alone, and you bring me back a face I can read. Stone closed his eyes, opened them. All right, Tank. Good man. The elevator dinged at the end of the hallway. The doors slid open, and out stepped Wrench. He was 54 years old, lean as a whip, where most of the older members had gone soft with a long gray braid down his back and a patch on his cut that had been sewn there by Stone's own mother at the kitchen table in 2002. He had sunglasses hooked in his collar. He had the same silver ring on his pinky that he had worn since Stone was a kid. He looked for all the world like a man who had driven 90 miles because his brother was in trouble. Stone stood up from the cafeteria table. He put a smile on his face that tasted like copper. Wrench, brother, you didn't have to come all the way out here. The hell I didn't. Wrench crossed the hallway in 4 long strides and pulled Stone into a hug hard, the kind of hug a man gives another man when he's genuinely afraid of losing him. Heard somebody took a shot at Lily, and I was on my bike before the phone cooled off. Where is she, Stone? She hurt. She ain't hurt. She's shook up. She's right over there with Tank. Wrench turned, saw Tank, saw Lily, crossed the hallway again and went down on one knee in front of the little girl like a man going to church, and he took her small hand in both of his, and his voice when he spoke to her was soft as a prayer. Lilybug. You look at me, sweetheart. You tell Uncle Wrench. Are you okay? Lily looked at him. She looked at him with those 7-year-old eyes that had already in one afternoon learned how to see more than 7-year-old eyes were built to see. I'm okay, Uncle Wrench. The boy saved me. What boy, honey? The boy who got shotted. He jumped in front of me. Wrench's face moved. Something crossed it. Stone, watching from 8 feet away, couldn't tell what it was. It could have been grief. It could have been surprise. It could have been calculation. It crossed his face too fast to read, and then it was gone, and what was left was the face of a man who was about to start crying. That's a brave little boy, Lilybug. That is one brave little boy. Daddy's taking care of him. I'm sure your daddy is. Wrench stood up, turned back to Stone, and there for just a second, Stone thought he saw something flicker behind the man's eyes. Not the obvious thing, not the thing a cop would catch. Something smaller. Something that Stone, who had ridden with Wrench for 2 decades, who had slept in the same bunkhouse with him on 100 runs, who had watched his face across 1,000 campfires, something that only a brother could see. Wrench was already wondering. Stone, where's the boy at? Down the hall, he's in a coma, brother. Doc says it's touch and go. Anybody know who he is? Nobody. John Doe. Kid's a runaway or something. Been eaten out of the dumpster behind the diner. Ain't nobody looking for him that we found yet. Wrench's face stayed carefully neutral. Poor little thing. Man, that ain't right, Stone. That just ain't right. Wrench, come down to the hall with me. I want to show you the kid. You sure family only, ain't it? Your family. Stone said it without blinking. Said it the way he had said it 1,000 times before at weddings and at funerals and at the bar on a Friday night. And the fact that this time he was saying it with a knife hidden in every word did not show on his face. Because Stone was Tank's son in every way but blood, and Tank had spent 30 years teaching him to keep his face empty when it counted. Wrench nodded once. Lead the way. Tank didn't look up as they walked past. Tank was bent over Lily, tying the laces of her little sneakers, and his hand, when it brushed the hilt of the blade on his belt, was so casual that nobody would have caught it. Nobody but Stone. The hallway was long. Stone walked slow, gave Wrench time, gave Wrench room, watched out of the corner of his eye the set of the older man's shoulders. Stone. Yeah, brother. You holding up all right? I'm holding up. That's a hell of a thing, a kid throwing himself in front of yours. It's a hell of a thing. Any word on who was in that car? Stone's jaw didn't move. Nothing yet. Tank's got some people looking. You know how these things go. 3 more steps. 4. Stone. Yeah. Funny thing, you know. What's that? Kid, that skinny kid, that shaped kid that age reminds me of somebody. Stone's heart started to beat against his ribs like it wanted out. Yeah, Stone said, easy, easy, easy. Who's that? Reminds me of your little brother is all. When he was little. For you knew him when we was all running around the clubhouse as kids. Your mama used to feed him peanut butter sandwiches 'cause he wouldn't eat nothing else. Kid in there got that same build. Huh, ain't that something? Yeah, Stone said. Yeah, brother, ain't that something? They reached the door. Stone paused, put his hand on the handle, did not turn it. Wrench? Yeah. Before we go in there, Dre, I gotta ask you something. Shoot. When's the last time you thought about Colt? There was a beat, half a beat, and in that half a beat, Stone saw something that stopped his heart cold. Wrench's eyes did not go to the floor the way a man's eyes go when he's thinking about somebody he's lost. Wrench's eyes went to Stone's face. The way a man's eyes go when he's checking to see if you know something. It was the smallest tell in the world. But it was a tell. I think about your brother every day, Stone. You know that. Yeah, Stone said softly. Yeah, I know you do. He opened the door. Rachel was still in the chair. She had her head down on the mattress beside her son. She was asleep or close to it, her hand curled around Noah's little one. At the sound of the door, she stirred and she lifted her head and she saw the leather cut walking in behind Stone. And for one terrible flashing second, her eyes went wide and Stone, quick as a whip, caught her gaze and gave her the tiniest shake of his head. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Don't say his name. Rachel, God bless her, was a woman who had been running from men in leather cuts for 5 years. She understood a silent warning the way other women understood a fire alarm. She lowered her eyes. She pulled her hair forward to cover the side of her face. This is Mama, Wrench said. Showed up about an hour ago. Says she's been looking for him. We're still sorting out the story. She's pretty tore up. Brother, maybe we just let her be. Yeah, of course. Wrench stepped into the room. Just inside the door. Not close enough to the bed to be a threat. Close enough to see. He looked at Noah. Stone watched his face. And what Stone saw he would remember for the rest of his life. Wrench's face did not move. That was the thing. His face did not move at all. And that was how Stone knew. Because any man who had ridden with Colt for 24 years, any man who had drunk beer with Colt at the clubhouse for 2 decades, any man who had genuinely loved Colt like a brother, any such man would have looked at this half-starved, bullet-riddled child lying in a hospital bed, and he would have seen the resemblance, and something in his face would have moved. Grief or shock or confusion or hope, something. Men don't look at a child who is the spitting image of a brother they've lost and feel nothing. Wrench felt nothing. Wrench's face stayed perfectly, professionally, carefully blank. And in that blankness, Stone read the whole truth. Poor kid, Wrench said quietly. Yeah. They say he's gonna make it. Doc says touch and go. That's rough, brother. That's real rough. Yeah, Wrench stood there another 5 seconds. Then he stepped back out into the hallway. Stone followed him, closed the door. They walked back toward the waiting area in silence. Halfway down the hall, Wrench stopped, put a hand on Stone's arm. Stone, listen, I gotta tell you something. All right, I'm gonna head out tonight. Gotta get back to the shop, gotta run tomorrow morning, I can't miss. But I want you to know whatever you need, brother, day or night, money, muscle, whatever. You call me, you understand? I understand. And Stone, Wrench's voice dropped. If anybody comes back around here looking for that boy, you call me first. Before Tank, before the cops, before anybody. 'Cause I owe you that, brother. After everything we've been through, you call me first. Stone looked him in the eye. Come to you. I'll call you first, Wrench. Good man. Wrench clapped him on the shoulder, walked down the hall, got in the elevator. The doors closed behind him. Stone stood there for 10 full seconds without moving. Then he turned and walked fast back to Tank. Tank was already on his feet. He had seen Stone's face from 30 feet away, and he already knew. Well, Tank, he knows. You sure? He looked at that boy like he was looking at a side of beef. Didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't nothing. Tank, that kid is Colt's son, and Wrench didn't even let his jaw move. That's a man who already knew what he was going to see. That's a man who already knew. And he told you to call him first if anybody came around. Yeah, so he can finish the job. Yeah, Tank. Tank closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, the calm was gone. What was left was the thing underneath the calm, the thing that had made Tank president for 18 years and kept him there, the old cold iron of a man who had decided somebody was going to die and was now only deciding who and when and where. Call Bear. Tank Bear's already on the road. Call Bear. Tell him to drive faster. Tell him we are on a clock. Tell him if Wrench is tipping off Viper on his way out of this parking lot, then there is a black sedan headed for the Barstow house right now, and we need to beat him there. Stone was already dialing. Bear picked up on the second ring. The roar of a V-twin in the background. Yeah. Bear. Wrench was here. He knows. He's leaving right now. God damn it. Tank says push it. Tank says you got company coming. I'm 4 hours out, brother. I can do it in 3.5 if I don't stop for gas, but that's the best I got. Then do 3.5, Bear. Do 3. Do whatever you gotta do. That notebook is the only thing that connects Wrench to 7 years of lies. If they burn that house down tonight, we got nothing. We got Rachel's word and a dog tag and a bunch of feelings. I'm riding, brother. Tell Tank I'm riding. Stone hung up. Tank was already on his own phone. Prospect, get me every patch member we got in a 50-mile radius of this hospital here tonight. I want bodies on every elevator. I want bodies on every stairwell. I want bodies in the parking lot. I do not want one of them bodies to be Wrench's crew. You understand me? We are locking this building down. Tank, we can't have a war inside a hospital. There ain't gonna be a war, Stone. There's gonna be 30 men in leather cuts in a lobby, and any of Viper's boys who walks in and sees them is gonna turn right back around. That's called posture. That's how you make sure a war don't happen. Now go sit with that boy. Go sit with that woman. I got the rest. Stone went. He stopped at the cafeteria first, picked up Lily, carried her down the hall, opened the door to Noah's room as quietly as he could. Rachel lifted her head. Her eyes were swollen. Is he gone? He's gone. Did he know? He knew. Rachel put her hand over her mouth. Oh God, Stone, what do we do nothing. We sit right here. We do not leave this room. Tank is putting a wall of men around this hospital right now. Bear is riding for Barstow. You are safe. Your boy is safe. I am right here, and I am not leaving this room for anything until the sun comes up. Do you hear me? I hear you. Rachel, can I sit down? Sit down, Stone. Stone sat down on the other side of the bed with Lily on his lap. Lily was quiet. She had been quiet for a long time now. She was watching Noah's small chest rise and fall under the sheet, and her own little hand had crept out and laid itself over Rachel's, so that all three of them, Stone and Rachel and Lily, had a hand on Noah at the same time. Daddy? Yeah, Lilybug. Can I talk to him? He can't hear you yet, baby. He's sleeping pretty deep. Uncle Bear said, if you talk to somebody who's sleeping deep, sometimes their heart hears you, even if their ears don't. Stone's throat closed up. Then you talk to him, sweetheart. You talk to him all you want. Lily leaned forward. She put her mouth very close to Noah's ear, and in the smallest, most serious little girl whisper, she said, Noah, it's me. I'm Lily. You saved my life today, and I'm going to save yours back. I promise. My daddy is your daddy's brother, and that means we're cousins, and that means we're family, and family doesn't leave, so don't you leave. Okay. You wake up, and I'll show you my rabbit. His name is Mr. Whiskers, and he's got one ear crooked, but he's real soft. You'll like him. I know you will. Rachel put her face in her hands and wept silently. Rachel's head snapped up. Baby, 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 I'm here, I'm right here. Mama, he whispered again, eyes still closed. They're coming. Baby, baby, who's coming? Who's coming, sweetheart? Noah's eyes did not open, but a single tear slid down his temple and disappeared into the pillow. The man with the snake on his arm, Noah whispered. Mama, the man with the snake on his arm is coming. The room went cold. Stone knew who had a snake on his arm. Every member of the club knew who had a snake on his arm. Viper had a snake that wound from his wrist all the way up to the side of his neck. A snake he had paid a lot of money for at an artist in Arizona 25 years ago. A snake that was as much his signature as his name. Noah had seen him. Noah had seen Viper. That meant Noah had been close enough to Viper recently enough to know his face. Oh, honey, Rachel whispered, bending over him, smoothing his hair. Oh, my baby. He's not coming. He's not coming, sweetheart. You're safe. You're safe with a mama now. You're safe with your Uncle Stone. Nobody's gonna hurt you ever again. Mama promises. Mama promises. Noah made another small sound, and then his breathing evened out and he was under again. Stone stood up. He stood up with a very particular expression on his face, an expression that Rachel, who had only known him for a few hours, did not recognize. But an expression that Tank, had he been in the room, would have known instantly. Because Tank had seen that expression on Stone's face exactly twice before, once the night Stone's wife died, and once the night Stone's brother disappeared. It was the expression of a man who had just decided something that could not be undone. Stone, Rachel said. Stone, where are you going? I'm not going anywhere. I need a minute in the hallway. I'll be right outside that door. He stepped outside, closed the door behind him, took out his phone, called Tank. Tank, the boy just talked in his sleep. What did he say? He said Viper's coming. He said the man with the snake on his arm is coming. Tank was quiet for a long 5 count. Then the boy has seen him, Tank said. The boy has seen him close up. The boy has been in the same room with Viper, maybe recent. Yeah. Stone. Yeah. This is bigger than we thought. Yeah, Tank, I know. Viper don't show his face to kids he's gonna have killed. Viper is too smart for that. If Noah has seen Viper's face, Viper wasn't planning on having Noah killed today. Viper was planning on keeping him. Stone leaned his forehead against the cold wall of the hallway. Why? I don't know why, son, but we better find out fast, because whatever Colt wrote in that notebook is bigger than one Crooked Patch member. Whatever Colt wrote in that notebook is something Viper needs that boy alive for. Tank. What? Bear's phone just went out. I was trying to call him and it went straight to voicemail. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Bear don't turn his phone off on a run. I know, Tank. Bear's phone don't die in the middle of a ride. Bear carries 2 batteries. I know. Stone? Yeah. I think something happened to Bear. Stone's hand tightened around the phone. Tank, don't say that. Don't say that to me right now. Son, I ain't saying anything I don't mean. Bear's phone don't go dark. Not on a run, not ever. Then we gotta get somebody out there. I already got somebody on him. Why did I not it? I got Diesel riding hot for the route Bear would have taken. If Bear's in a ditch, Diesel's gonna find him. If Bear's somewhere worse than a ditch, Diesel's gonna find that too. Tank, Stone, listen to me. I need you to stay in that room, you hear me? I need you to stay with that woman and those 2 babies because right now, right this minute, that room is the most important room in the state of California. Bear knew what he was riding into. Bear is a grown man. Bear made his choice. You made yours when you stayed. Don't you second guess it now. Tank, if Bear is dead, then Bear is dead doing what a brother does. And we will bury him like a brother, but we will not lose the boy while we're doing it. You hear me? I hear you. Good, now sit down. Stone sat down. He sat down on the cold hospital floor right outside Noah's door with his back against the wall, And for the first time all day, he let himself put his head in his hands. Not for long, maybe 20 seconds. 20 seconds of a grown man carrying too much at once and needing to set it down just for a breath, just long enough to pick it back up again. Then the phone in his hand buzzed. Unknown number. Stone stared at it. 3 rings, 4. He picked up. Who is this? Stone, brother. It's me. Don't say my name. Bear. I said don't say it. I'm on a burner. Somebody tried to run me off the road about 40 miles out of Barstow. 2 trucks. They boxed me. I put one of them in a guardrail and I shook the other one at a rest stop. My phone went in the ditch with my saddlebag. I'm at a gas station and I got a kid who works here who let me borrow his phone for a $5 bill. I don't have long. Bear, are you? I'm fine. I'm riding a loner and I'm 20 minutes from the house. Stone, listen to me. Whoever told them I was coming told them tonight. And whoever told them was somebody who knew the route I was taking. Stone closed his eyes. Wrench. Wrench, it had to be. He left the hospital 2 hours ago, Bear. That's enough time for a phone call. Yeah, more than enough. Stone, I'm gonna go dark the second I hang up this phone. I'm gonna get in that house. I'm gonna get what we came for. And I'm gonna ride straight back to you with it, and I ain't not stopping for nothing. And I ain't picking up no numbers I don't recognize. If I ain't back by sunup, you tell Tank to tear this whole thing down to the dirt. You understand? I understand. I love you, brother. I love you too, Bear. The line cut out. Stone sat there for another second. Then he stood up because standing was what you did when you had nowhere to run and a door to guard. And he walked back into the room and he closed the door behind him and he sat down on the arm of Rachel's chair and he put his hand on top of hers where it lay on Noah's blanket and he did not move for the next 3 hours. Around 4 in the morning, Noah's fingers twitched. Rachel caught it first. Her whole body went rigid. Stone, he's waking up. Rachel, honey, be easy, be easy. Baby, it's Mama. It's Mama, sweetheart. Can you hear me? Noah's eyelashes fluttered. He made a small sound. The monitor above the bed started beeping faster. A nurse came in, then a doctor, then another nurse, and they checked pupils and reflexes and the endless little things that tell you whether a child has made it back across the river or not. He's with us, the doctor said quietly. He's groggy. He's going to be in and out for a while, but he's with us. Ma'am, I can talk to him. Just keep it soft. Rachel leaned over her son. Her voice when it came out was a thing Stone would remember for the rest of his life. The voice of a woman who had been rehearsing these words in her head for a year and a half and who had never until this moment let herself believe she would get to say them. Mama's here, baby. Mama's here. Mama is never ever leaving again. Noah's eyes opened. Just a crack. Blue like winter sky, blue like Colt's had been. He looked at his mother for a long second. Then his eyes drifted past her to Stone. You, he whispered. Yeah, buddy, it's me. You're the man from the parking lot. That's right. Did the little girl is the little girl. She's right here, buddy. She's right over there asleep in the other chair. You saved her life. You hear me? You saved her life. Noah's eyes filled with tears, not loud ones, just slow ones, the kind a child cries when he has been holding something in for too long. My daddy told me to, he whispered. The room went still. Noah, Rachel said gently. Noah, honey, what do you mean? My daddy, in my dream, before the cars came. He said, Noah, you see a little girl in a pink jacket, you save her whatever it costs you. And I saw her, Mama. I saw her pink jacket. And then the car came and I did what Daddy said. Stone made a sound in the back of his throat. Noah, look at me, buddy. When did your daddy tell you that? He tells me every night, mister, in my dreams. He's been telling me for a long time. Noah, listen to me. Is your daddy, do you know where your daddy is? Noah's eyes blinked slow. He was fading back under the medication pulling him down. He's in the room, the little boy whispered, with the green door, and the man with the snake. He can't come out. He told me. The man with the snake won't let him come out. Noah's eyes closed. Rachel and Stone stared at each other across the bed. Stone, Rachel whispered. I know. Stone, he's alive. Colt is alive. He's been alive this whole time and they've been keeping him somewhere. And our son knows. I know, Rachel, I know. A room with a green door, Stone. A room with a green door and a man with a snake on his arm. Our baby has been in that room. They took him there. Viper took him there. Maybe to show him to Colt. Maybe to, oh God, Stone. Maybe to use him as leverage. Maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe Colt wouldn't give them what they wanted, so they got the boy. And Stone stood up. I'm calling Tank. He didn't have to. Tank called him first. Stone, Bear just rolled up at the hospital. He's back. He is back, and he is in one piece. And he is holding a leather-bound notebook in his hand that is gonna blow the doors off this whole county. I need you down in the lobby right now. Tank Noah just woke up, and Rachel's with him. Rachel's with him. Then Rachel's got him. You come downstairs. Right now. Stone kissed Rachel on the forehead, kissed Lily on the top of her head, where she was sleeping, curled up in the other chair. He stepped out into the hallway and he walked fast, and the elevator ride down was the longest 40 seconds of his life. Bear was standing in the hallway outside the lobby with Tank, and he looked like he had ridden through hell. His jacket was torn at the elbow. His cheek was scraped raw. There was dirt in his beard, and he was holding a small brown leather notebook in his enormous hand like it was made of spun glass. Stone. Bear, brother, you're alive. Barely. What's in it? Everything. Bear's voice was rough. Stone. Everything. Colt wrote down every deal, every drop, every location, every name. He had 7 years of it. He had bank accounts. He had photos. He had license plates. He had Bear's throat worked. Stone, he had Wrench. Dates, these places. He had Wrench meeting with Viper going back 12 years. 12 years, brother. This wasn't new. Wrench has been on Viper's payroll since before we even knew Viper existed. 12 years. And there's something else. What? Bear opened the notebook, flipped to a page near the back, turned it so Stone could see. It was a hand-drawn map. Crude, shaky, but clear, and written across the bottom in handwriting Stone had not seen in 7 years, but recognized instantly were 4 words. If I die, find me here. Stone. Tank's voice was very quiet. Your brother drew us a map to the place he thought they were going to kill him. That's a warehouse on the edge of Victorville, Bear said. That's an hour from here. That's an hour, brother. Stone looked up. We're going. We're going, Tank said. But Stone, you listen to me. Listen to me. Before we go, we got to finish the thing in this hospital. Because Wrench ain't done with us, and Viper knows we're on to him now. And the second we roll out of this parking lot, anybody we leave behind in this building is unprotected. Then we leave 20 men behind. We leave 30. We already got them here. And I'm leaving Diesel in charge of this floor. And I am personally calling the sheriff's department and the state police and every cop in this county who owes me a favor. And by the time the sun comes up, this hospital is going to have more badges in it than a 4th of July parade. Rachel and Noah and Lily are not going to be alone for 1 second. All right, in Stone, yeah. When we get to that warehouse, if your brother is there, and I pray to God he is you, let me go through the door first. You understand me. You got 2 children upstairs in this hospital who need you to come home tonight. You do not go through a door first. That's my job tonight. That's a president's job. Tank. That is not a discussion, Eli. Stone closed his eyes, nodded once. All right, Tank. They rode out an hour before sunup. 18 men, 3 trucks and a string of bikes. They did not ride the way the club rode on a Sunday afternoon with the wind in their beards and the sun on their backs. They rode the way men ride when they are going to bring a brother home or die trying. The warehouse was exactly where Colt's map said it would be. A low, long building, squat against the desert, 2 cars in front and lights on in a room at the back. They took the 2 cars out first, quiet. Nobody needed to make any noise. Tank had done this kind of work in 3 different decades, and his men knew their places without a word. Then they went through the door. There were 4 men inside. 2 of them ran, 2 of them didn't. The 2 who didn't were Viper's top lieutenants, and they were armed, and for about 90 seconds, the inside of that warehouse was the loudest place in the county. When the 90 seconds were over, Tank was the first man on his feet, and he walked down a long hallway toward the back of the building, and at the end of the hallway there was a door. A green door. Tank stopped in front of it. Stone. Yeah. Come here, son. Stone came, stood next to him. You open it. Stone put his hand on the door. His hand was shaking. He could not make it stop shaking. He had not been this afraid of a door since he was 6 years old, and he had been told his daddy was on the other side of it in a casket. He opened the door. The man sitting against the far wall was not the Colt that Stone remembered. This man was thin. His hair was long and matted. His beard was down to his chest. There was a chain on his ankle bolted to a ring in the concrete. There were scars on his arms and his face that had not been there 7 years ago. He looked up when the door opened, and his eyes were the eyes of a man who had not been sure the door would ever open again. And then he saw Stone. And the look on his face, Stone would not have words for it, not ever, not for the rest of his life. It was the look of a man seeing his brother at the end of a long, long road he had been walking alone. "Eli," Colt whispered. "Little brother. Eli is my boy. He's alive, Colt. He's upstairs in a hospital bed, and he's alive, and his mama is alive, and my little girl is alive, and every last one of them is waiting on you to come home." Colt made a sound. It wasn't a word. It wasn't a sob. It was the sound of 7 years of grief coming out of a man all at once. Stone crossed the room in 3 steps and went down on his knees in front of his brother, and he put his arms around him and he held him, like he had held him when Colt was 6 years old and had fallen off his bike, and the two of them rocked there on the concrete floor of a warehouse in the desert, and Tank stood in the doorway with his back to them, giving them their moment, wiping his own face with the heel of his hand. Bear worked on the chain with bolt cutters. It took him 90 seconds. When the ankle cuff fell off, Colt put a hand on Bear's shoulder and could not speak. "Don't talk, brother," Bear said. "Don't talk, just ride. We'll talk later. For the rest of our lives, we'll talk later." They carried Colt to the truck. He couldn't walk. His legs hadn't held his full weight in too long. On the ride back to the hospital, Stone sat in the back seat with his brother's head on his shoulder, and Colt slept the first real sleep he had slept in 7 years. Viper was found 2 days later in a motel room outside Las Vegas. The state police got there first, which was, Tank would later say, probably the luckiest thing that had ever happened to Viper. The case against him ran 84 pages, and it was built almost entirely on the notebook of a man he had been holding in a warehouse for 7 years. Viper would die in a prison cell 14 months later, of causes the coroner would rule natural, though the Hells Angels in 3 states would smile when the news came. Wrench was a different matter. Wrench was found by the side of a county road about 6 hours after the warehouse, sitting on the hood of his bike waiting. He did not run. He had known from the moment Stone had walked him to Noah's hospital door and asked him when he had last thought about Colt that his 24 years inside the club were over. He had known from that half beat when his eyes went to Stone's face instead of the floor. He asked for one thing. He asked to speak to Stone alone. Stone met him in a field outside of town with Tank's permission and Bear's backup 200 yards away. "Eli, don't call me that." "All right, Stone. Why Wrench?" "Money. That's simple. That's simple. Viper had a lot of it. I had a daughter going through chemo I couldn't pay for. That was 12 years ago. He bought me, Stone. He bought me, and once he bought me, he owned me. I couldn't ever get out. When Colt found out he was going to tell Tank, I couldn't let him. I told Viper. I told Viper where to find him. You told Viper where to find your own brother. He wasn't supposed to kill him, Stone. He was supposed to scare him. But then Colt had the notebook, and Viper wanted the notebook, and Colt wouldn't tell him where it was, and it turned into something else. And then I couldn't undo it. And then years went by, and then there was a thaw, and then I was too deep to swim back. Wrench. Yeah. My brother is home. I know. My nephew is alive. I know. And you are going to go to prison for a long, long time. I know. Wrench. Yeah, Stone. I forgive you. Wrench's head came up sharply. What? I forgive you. I ain't saying it for your sake. I'm saying it for mine. Because I got 2 children to raise and a brother to bring back from the dead, and I do not have the room in my chest to carry hate for you for the rest of my life. You made your choice. You're going to pay for it. That's between you and the state and God. But I'm done carrying you. Wrench put his face in his hands and wept. Stone turned and walked away. He did not look back. At the hospital 3 weeks later, a little boy named Noah Morrison walked out of the front doors for the first time holding his mother's hand on one side and his father's on the other. His cousin Lily walked behind him carrying a stuffed rabbit with one crooked ear. His Uncle Stone walked beside his mother, one arm around her shoulders. His grandfather Tank walked behind all of them with a silver ponytail and eyes that were for the first time in 7 years, not the eyes of a man who had buried a godson. Colt had gained in a back 15 pounds. His hair had been cut. He would walk with a limp for the rest of his life. He would flinch sometimes at the sound of a door closing too hard. But he would walk his boy to school in the mornings, and he would teach his boy to ride a bike, and he would stand on the porch of a small house outside town with Rachel's hand in his, and he would watch the sun come up over the desert every morning for the rest of his days. Stone raised both children in the sense that matters. Lily and Noah grew up as brother and sister, more than cousins, because that is what happens when two kids survive the same bullet together. Noah called Stone Uncle Eli until the day he got married, and then he called him Uncle and meant something bigger than a word. The Hells Angels chartered. He held a barbecues at Stone's house a month after Colt came home. Every patch member was there. There was a new chair set up at the head of the table next to Tank's, and Colt sat down in it, and Tank put a hand on his shoulder, and the whole club stood up, and no man in that yard was ashamed of the tears on his face. Years later at Lily's high school graduation, Stone would stand in the back of the gymnasium with Noah on one side of him and Colt on the other, and he would think about a parking lot outside a diner on a Saturday morning and about 3 bullets meant for his little girl, and about a 5-year-old boy with winter sky eyes who had run into gunfire for a stranger because a father he had never met had told him to in a dream, and who had whispered a dead man's nickname into a bleeding mouth in the front seat of a pickup truck. He would think about how close they had come to losing everything, and he would think about how in the end they had not lost any of it. They had lost a friend who had stopped being a friend a long time before. They had lost an enemy who had earned every second of his ending. But the family that was blood, and the family that was chosen, and the family that was stitched together with 7 years of grief and 1 afternoon of impossible courage, the family was whole. The family was whole, and no man, no enemy, no bullet, no lie, and no dark road in the desert would ever tear it apart again. Not while Stone was breathing. Not while Tank rode at the head of the line. Not while a boy named Noah walked the earth with his father's eyes and his father's dog tag around his neck. Not ever again.